Get ready to uncover truths and reality of today's politics. Here's your host, Lori Mills.
Welcome to another edition of Uncover California. You guys, we have a hot show today. Our first guest, Sheriff Mack. He's been on before. We're going to talk about all of the corrupt judges and those that not only tried to take down President Trump during his first term, on his 4 years break, now they're trying to stop the deportation of illegal immigrants. It's absolutely insane. They are attacking President Trump with lawfare and us once again. Our second guest, guys, Mexico is exploding with violence. The cartels don't like that our border is secure. They're finding dead bodies. They're finding decapitated people. You guys, it is a bloodbath. And Oscar Blue Ramirez is here once again to warn America what's waiting for us if a Democrat or a rhino ever take power again. Victory's not an option, folks. We have to keep going. Who's ready to have some fun? You guys, you can now charter the Scarlet Belle paddle wheel riverboat. You guys, the boat holds 150 guests. If you're planning on getting married, you can host a wedding here. If you just want to have a good party, they'll do that too. The boat holds up to 150 guests with all-inclusive packages available. There also is a midweek group discount if you're interested. They have a fully stocked bar, full-service catering, and they'll help you with event planning and theme ideas. I can tell you we did a Trumptilla on this boat, and we're going to do it again. They also have another vessel that you can throw casino night parties on. There is nothing better than the Scarlet Belle in the Channel Islands Harbor. Use promo code Callie and get a great deal on your next event. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Our first guest today, Sheriff Mack. Remember him from an episode or few ago? Gosh, it might have even been 6 months ago. Mack Pritz versus the U.S., where they basically saved the sheriffs. Well, today, he's coming on and he's going to discuss with us rogue judges. Sheriff Mack, welcome to Uncover California. It's so good to see you again, sir.
Well, thanks for having me back. I really enjoy your show and I appreciate you having me on.
Well, let's talk about what's been going on. We saw it before the election, and now, you know, with these judges that have been going after President Trump. We saw Alvin Bragg run on getting Trump. We saw Letitia James run on getting Trump. And now we're watching these judges that are literally going after him. There was also that Judge Aragon guy who looked like the guy from Larry Sanders. Is that his name? I can't remember. But
From
he
Saturday
went
Night
after.
Live?
Oh, I don't even know. The white-haired guy that was kind of crazy that went after President Trump for E. Jean Carroll's sexual misconduct claims, which I think that we can debunk. And now we're watching these judges fight against the Trump agenda, such as this Judge Cano that was in New Mexico, and he was actually harboring a Trende de Agua member that had pictures of decapitated people on his phone. And then now we also have the other judge, I believe her name was Hannah Dugan, that basically was let the guy out that was there for beating up people and putting them in the hospital, and she funneled him out the back to get away from ICE. What is your take on all of this?
Well, none of the judges have to cooperate, okay? They don't. Nobody can force them to cooperate. But it's against the law if you obstruct, okay? And they know that. And so especially Dugan, I mean, what a doofus. I mean, she knows that they know that he's there, and she tries to funnel him out and make sure that he gets away. And it was all criminal intent. She knows the law. When she was arrested, they would not have to read her the Miranda warning, because they would give judicial notice that she knows what her rights are, okay? And she knows the law. And to do what she did was just so asinine and criminal.
Right.
But the thing of it is, I've been very close to the court system for the last 40 years. I worked 20 years in law enforcement, and then I did all sorts of work with people being abused by government. And sometimes people would hire me to come and testify in their traffic matters, sometimes other criminal matters. I've been to other court cases, like I went to Tina Peters' court case. I've helped Amish farmers in their court case all across the country. And the judges need to remember one thing: the rule of law, the Constitution, to which they swore a sacred oath to uphold and defend. Everyone in all three branches of government must swear an oath of allegiance to uphold and defend, protect and preserve the United States Constitution. If these judges don't do it, and they willingly and summarily disobey their oath of office, I'll bet you could ask any of those judges, what is the crime when someone takes an oath and then wittingly disobeys it? That's perjury. And in some cases, it could go much further than that. But, Congress arrests people all the time for perjury, even amongst all the liars in Washington, D.C. I always think that's really funny that Congress will charge somebody for perjury when these people lie more than anybody else on the face of the planet.
Right.
But these judges are absolute. I took a lot of solace in seeing that mugshot, the jailbird picture of Judge Dugan. Finally, we're putting real criminals in jail. And we just need to extend this to every single person. And we put the CSPOA and I put this out over a year ago, that everyone in Washington, D.C. and across the country who has aided and abetted illegal immigration, including the sanctuary cities and states and counties, whatever, should be investigated criminally. That's a crime.
Yeah,
just like Judge Dugan did.
And it's in violation, I believe, of 8 U.S. Code 1325. And this Judge Cano in Mexico, or in New Mexico, he and his wife were arrested for having a Trinidad Aragua member living in their home. Not only that, they gave him an AR-15, and they were doing, I think they gave him 2 firearms and was letting him do gun practice. I heard that he had sent via text a couple pictures of decapitated people to somebody, and that person said, "Oh, you shouldn't be sending these pictures out." Why would a judge harbor a criminal like this and protect him from being deported? Do you think he was financially on the take?
I really don't know. It seems like everybody in the freedom movement, anytime there's somebody that's doing something wrong in government, he's on the take. Oh, they're paying him off. Oh, it's a big bribery thing. Maybe it's just plain old stupidity, and that these judges have been brainwashed, sometimes self-brainwashed, into believing they can get away with anything and everything. This is my courtroom. I'm God, I'm king, and I can do anything I want. Bow down before me and kiss my ring, And that's what they've been inculcated into believing, and they don't think there's ever going to be any consequences. A lot of judges have immunity in a lot of different things. You can't sue a judge. Just about for anything, you can't sue a judge. So this immunity thing starts to rock their brains, and they just don't get it when they actually do something stupid like Judge Dugan and these others have done. And I hope there's a lot more, because I'm going to say this again. I'll probably say it 2 or 3 more times while we're on here. Finally, we're arresting real criminals. And this needs to keep going and needs to keep expanding. And I believe that there should be a criminal investigation by sheriffs and others in law enforcement, federal law enforcement, whoever, anytime and every time a judge violates his oath of office.
And
That's a crime.
And I thought no one was above the law, Sheriff Mack. That's what they always say. No one is above the law. And that only seems to fall on one side of the aisle. You know, we look back again to what they did to President Trump. Judge Merchan, who was trying to take out President Trump, looking at hundreds of years in prison, his daughter was being paid to fundraise for the Democrats millions of dollars. Is he above the law? Are these judges above the law? And now the Democrats are talking about due process when they violated 8 U.S. Code 1325. And the only due process these migrants had coming in was catch and release. What is your take on that?
Well, all of it is so absolutely absurd. And I guess it brings in another excuse for their stupid behavior, that politics comes into it. And these judges know they're not supposed to get involved in politics, and yet they are, and sometimes way too much. And like the judge that just got elected to the Supreme Court in Wisconsin. Well, then that court turned around and suspended Judge Dugan, a very liberal court, just suspended Judge Dugan. So I think they were running scared a little bit there, and they were trying to show that somebody's trying to do the right thing. But for heaven's sakes, these judges are adhering to political dogma and political agendas more than they are their oath of office and the rule of law. And that's really the problem here. And now we're going to reverse that. And I think it's great that we compare this to what they did to President Trump.
And January 6th defendants. They didn't get any due process.
Exactly.
I have a friend, they disappeared him. Nobody could find him. He didn't get due process. He was nonviolent. He was actually a bodyguard to a doctor who was supposed to give a speech at the Ellipse. And they threw him in jail for 4 years. Thank God President Trump pardoned him. And none of these J6ers, the Brady Law was violated several times. They were not allowed to present a defense. And yet we're watching people like the Maryland man, Kilmore Garcia. Everybody's freaking out. This wife-beating, child-beating trafficker got sent back to his home country in El Salvador. And they're saying, oh, but what about due process? What do you think of the hypocrisy?
Yeah. Yeah, it really entertains me and amuses me when Democrats start talking about the Constitution.
Yeah.
They don't know a damn thing about the Constitution. They've never read it, and they'll hear somebody bring up a talking point, and so they start doing it. As a matter of fact, when True the Vote was really going after several jurisdictions across the country on vote fraud, they actually discovered. And I'm sorry I don't have the name for you right now, but because I went to training with True the Vote, and we used to work pretty closely with them. But they actually came up with the PR company that was giving the Democrat Party and the White House the talking points for them all to use. So I don't even care what the name is that much, but suffice it to say, they are working together, and they get it from the same source, and they're paying this PR company to make sure that they're all doing the talking points. It's easy to see what they are, because all of them use it. They do it. They follow suit, and they do what they're supposed to. They do what they're told.
Well, and now, it's interesting.
The big media is not on the take. They're just part of the problem. Naturally, right. They don't get money paid by other politicians or the Democrat Party. Maybe sometimes, but what they're doing is they're after the destruction of our country and our Constitution.
And why would they be? I do know and you hear it all the time. Soros judges. And, we're
Yeah.
dealing with a group out here in my county in California, and I know it's a nationwide group called Indivisible, who are pretty much their ground soldiers. I don't know if you noticed, but Antifa had disappeared for 4 years while President Biden was in office, or shall I say, installed. And, we have Antifa has raised their ugly heads. And we know that Indivisible is not only funded by the Open Society Foundation, George Soros, but they're also funded by Arabella Financial LLC, which we know is their dark money group. And I'm so frustrated that why hasn't George Soros or Arabella been put on the stand? They are interfering in our elections. They are literally paying Hamas protesters. They always have the same color tent. They're paying for all the signs, like when Justice Kavanaugh was being put through his process. They were defend democracy. These people are evil. Why do they want to destroy our country? Because that's ultimately what it's going to do.
Yeah, and then that brings up another one too. Try to explain to a Democrat or any of these Democrat politicians that we're not a democracy.
Yeah, we're
I
a
mean,
constitutional republic.
That's simple. That's so simple. When you tell them, do you know the word democracy is not mentioned in the Declaration of Independence? Do you know it's not mentioned in the Constitution? Do you know it's not mentioned in the Articles of Confederation? Do you know it's not mentioned in any state constitution? You know, it was never mentioned by the founding fathers that they wanted to try the new American democracy. And then how about quoting the pledge? And to the republic for which it stands. The whole thing stands on our republic. And just as you alluded to, absolutely, it's a constitutional republic, which means it's not just a set standard republic. It's a republic surrounded by and limited by our United States Constitution. And thereby, every politician who's in government must know and understand what this republic really stands for and what it is. They don't get it. They can't get it. And the brainwashing is obvious that they don't want to get it.
Well, and they do have their daily talking points and their daily words of wisdom, whether it be we're in chaos. It's a constitutional crisis.
Constitutional crisis.
Even during the election, J.D. Vance is weird, and they are the ones that are pushing for child sex changes. They are the ones that are pushing for an open border. The fact that we've gone from 14,000 crossings every month to maybe 100 is miraculous. We didn't need Langford's bill. We needed a new president, which was proven. And again, these people that have come into our country illegally, many of them gang members, I believe the last time I checked, there was over 400,000 criminal aliens that had entered our country. We have over 300,000 missing migrant kids feared sold into the sex trade in our country. And they're worried about due process. For these guys, it would take hundreds of years to get these people out of our country. And now that we're using the Aliens Enemies Act, I believe there's another activist judge trying to prevent that. What his name is Boasberg, I believe, that has gone after the Aliens Enemies Act. The bottom line is our country was invaded. Our country was invaded willfully and knowingly.
Yeah. That's totally a key point. And it was really good that Trump had the smarts to declare some of these international gangs terrorists.
Yes.
Because that lessens what we have to do in order to give them all due process. And Trump was right, and you're right. It would take, Trump said, 200 years. If everybody got the due process on this and everybody got a court-appointed lawyer and Everything else that Article 6 of the Bill of Rights requires, there's like 9 steps for due process in Article 6. If they went through all 9, they would be here 2 to 5 years fighting that, and there wouldn't be enough courtroom. There wouldn't be anything. So I understand that this has to happen a lot faster. And these people, there's some of these people that are absolute enemies of America, and they need to get out of here. Some of them need to go directly to jail, whether it's here or El Salvador. And I really love Presidente Bukele. He's a good man, and he's really taken El Salvador by the arm and really taken it, or by the horn, and he's really fixing it. And I was last time I was in El Salvador was 2011, and I'm telling you, you have to be really careful there. It's one of the most violent countries in the world, and now it's not.
Yeah.
And he's got this settled down. And so these terrorist groups and these cartels are some of the most ruthless, cruel, and heinous criminals anywhere in the world. And I've been to training, and I've seen what they do to wives of some of their competitors in competitive gangs. And it is beyond anything that you would ever imagine. They are bloodthirsty, just barbarian murderers. And I don't even want to tell you what I saw because it's just so hard to get out of your brain and mind. But these people are ruthless, careless, not of normal human feeling at all.
Well, just last week here in Los Angeles County, in the Valley, there was a man, a homeowner, that was tied up by 3 Jordanian immigrants, illegal immigrants. This isn't just Latin America, folks. There are people that are here from the Middle East. I believe as well that we have had many attempted breaches at our military base by Middle East illegal immigrants. This is a danger to our country. America first. America first.
Amen.
We have been invaded, and I'm sorry, they do not have the right to be here. What do you say, Sheriff Mack, when people say these illegal aliens and some criminal terrorist deserve their constitutional rights in our country? Does our Constitution cover terrorists and people that have illegally come into our country?
To a certain extent, they get some.
Okay.
But once they have the declaration of terrorist, that's a military situation, and the military does not have to go by every facet of the Constitution. For instance, let's say you're involved in a war and you're after the people. Don't shoot him, arrest him, and take him before the judge. That's not what happens. And this invasion of our country was definitely has fallen under some of the military rules. I would say, though, somebody who's living in a community and they've got DACA children, they're gonna get due process a lot more than these people. Imagine us trying to mollycoddle terrorists and these other cartels I was just talking about, the horrible cruelty, satanic murders that they commit, and then we got to give them and then pay for them to be in court for the next 5 to 10 years. No. And so, yes, I still believe that we need to have our ducks in a row. We need to do our homework, and we need to make sure that people who have been set up in America for a while, I'm sorry, they do get their due process. International terrorist groups? No. Cartels and some of them, because now they're terrorists? No.
Okay, so I would like to get your take, and I want to bring us back to Kilmore Garcia. This man had 2 deportation orders, and then he also was a trafficker. He was a wife beater. He was a child beater. And yet, I believe another judge gave him a withholding order, and the Supreme Court came down 9-0 to let him come back to our country. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, the Supreme Court makes mistakes all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
And one of Trump's big mistakes was Amy Comey Barrett. She's lousy. She doesn't know the first thing about the Bill of Rights or the Constitution. She has one issue that's kind of her specialty, and that's abortion. And I'm totally against abortion, and that's one thing we need to do still, and that is defund Planned Parenthood.
Oh,
And I
amen.
don't see her marching to the drum on that, but the illegal funding of a private organization with taxpayer dollars is criminal,
Yeah.
and that should be investigated criminally. But there's no way anyone in this country should be forced to pay tax dollars. You want to donate to Planned Parenthood? Nobody can stop you. But the, taking taxpayer dollars and funneling it to them, and then what do? 700 million a year to a private organization, and then Planned Parenthood takes that money and funnels it back to the politicians that funneled it to them in the first place. How corrupt can you get?
Well, they're very corrupt. I think it's very sad to see. But again, we've seen, these Democrats fly to El Salvador to visit the Maryland man, Kilmore
I know.
Garcia.
I
And
know.
I believe that he had the two orders to leave our country and did not. So I'm just confused how this works. I don't think that there's any avenue
Well, but
where this man
Presidente
makes,
Bukele said no.
yeah,
He said we're not doing it, and the Supreme Court can't tell him what to do.
that is true. That is true. And you're absolutely correct on Planned Parenthood. I can tell you that when I ran for office, my opponent used Planned Parenthood money to, run against me. And not
Sure.
only that, now Planned Parenthood is very involved in the gender mutilation of our children. So they've
Yes.
taken it a step further with gender affirming care, which is just a joke. We know for a fact, I've talked to Chloe Cole, they're giving children this drug called Lupron. Now, Lupron is what they give sexual predators that are in prison to castrate them. Chemical
Oh,
castration. And now they're giving it to kids as young as 7 years old. You don't stop the child's
right.
progress in puberty. It is
Right.
so damaging, but that's Planned Parenthood.
The absolute insanity and corruption that surrounds all of that just is mind blowing,
And
and
evil,
that also shows us how much work we have to do yet.
right?
Mhm.
Right. So, what have you been up to? I know that you're a very busy man. What's been on your agenda since we spoke last?
Well, we have a sheriff that got abused and attacked and arrested by the Biden FBI, by the Biden DOJ, and he was found guilty last November, right after the election, and he got sentenced to 10 years in prison, and he's one of the best sheriffs in American history.
Wow.
He's totally supports the Constitution, totally stood for the Second Amendment, spoke at the Richmond, Virginia rally for the Second Amendment. He has uh, met with other sheriffs about a year ago, a little over a year ago, to discuss what we've been putting out there for a long time, conducting their own criminal investigations on Hunter Biden. So, uh, Mr. Biden or Mrs. Jill Biden, whoever actually did the pardon for Hunter, uh, they wouldn't have been able to pardon him because it would have been state charges instead of federal charges. And so Daddy took care of him. But this is the thing. This was on a phone call that these other sheriffs had to discuss going after Hunter Biden. Sheriff Scott Jenkins and a couple others said they were going to do it. Sheriff Jenkins was arrested like 2 or 3 weeks later
Wow. And it's a
after the
state
phone call.
case. It's a state case like Tina's where President
No,
Trump can't.
no, this one was federal because it was FBI.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
so we're trying to get President Trump to pardon this good man. He's been in Mar-a-Lago before. He's been in the White House supporting Trump before. during his first term. This is a good man. This is a really solid constitutional sheriff. Sheriff Scott Jenkins, he was in law enforcement 34 years, never committed a crime, and now they didn't hire somebody. They did a quid pro quo on somebody who worked for Sheriff Jenkins' search and rescue squad, who was facing 50 years in prison for tax evasion. Yeah, he had money. And they told him, we'll be more lenient with you on your prison sentence if you go after Jenkins for us. And he did it.
And we saw that a lot with January 6th. You know, they would go lighter on some people if they'd attack other people.
Yeah.
Well, Sheriff, our time went really fast. I can't believe
does.
30 minutes just boom. Tell everybody where they can find you and any need that you may have where people can help you out.
Well, look, folks, we drastically need donations. And this is the most effective and peaceful solution for everyone. Everyone can join the CSPOA. All of you can join. All of you can make a donation. And we have been having the president's back on deportation and just about everything else he's doing, and also creating pockets of constitutional counties all across the country with sheriffs that will uphold and defend, protect, and preserve your God-given rights. It starts at home. What did General Flynn say? And he was looking at our work when he said this. Local action, national impact. And that's what we can do, and that's what we can have. And so, folks, get involved with your sheriff. Become a member of the CSPOA posse. Go to cspoa.org. Get these books. Get the other books that I've written there. It'll be a tremendous blessing to you and your family and your children. And we take care of our future, and we take care of our families, and we take care of our counties, and we take back America one county at a time.
Amen.
Join us. Be part of the movement.
Amen. Thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to have you back. I always have so much to talk to you about. You're so interesting and very knowledgeable, and I really do appreciate you.
Thanks.
All right, Sheriff. We'll talk soon. All right, everybody, stay tuned. Our next guest, we're going to stick with the border. Oscar Blue is coming on, and he's going to tell us the cartels are creating a bloodbath in Tijuana. They're not happy about the closed border. So south of the border, you're seeing murder. You're seeing the most brutal things happen to the public in Tijuana. We gotta not ignore our brothers, and that president in Mexico needs to work with President Trump to put these cartels where they belong. Hey, everybody. I don't know if you've been supporting the show by going to themagamall.com, but I just got my new Doge hat. I love this hat. He's got so many new designs. He has Maha. He's got ice hats. But anyways, remember to go to themagamall.com. And if you use promo code Kelly, CALI, you'll get a really good discount. Check out the Doge hat. Everybody needs one. Hey, everybody. Donald Trump won the election. Did you know that there's a summer special going on right now? For just $10, you can get your MAGA black tumbler. This is high quality. It's durable. It's not your dollar store brand. It's double insulated to keep your drinks cool or hot. It's got a stylish black matte finish. It's BPA free, so it's safe. This bold Trump tumbler 47 design shows your pride, a collector's item for every patriot, and they're only $10. So we're going to leave a link in the description below. Make sure you go on there and claim your Trump tumbler. We only have 250 at the $10 price, so don't wait. Welcome back, everybody. Our second guest today is one of my favorites, Oscar Blue Ramirez. You've seen him on The War Room, and you've seen him here several times. He was the one that warned us Tren de Aragua was coming to our border probably 5 years ago. He walked the Darien Gap 4 times, and now he's got a warning for us all. South of the border, a bloodbath is taking place. The cartels are not happy about our border being closed. And the politicians south of the border, well, we've got problems with them too. We have to win, guys. It's not an option. If we want to save this republic, 2026 matters and 2028 matters. Oscar Blue, welcome to Uncover California. My brother, it is so good to see you again.
Miss Lori, it's always a pleasure to be with you on your platform. Say hello to all your viewers.
I will. Well, you can say hello right now. Okay, so President Trump has closed the border. And you spent years going through the Darien Gap. You were the first one to warn the American people that Tren de Aragua was coming into our country. And since then, I think we're down to maybe 100 crossings a day from 14,000. We still have hundreds of thousands of missing children in our country. And after watching you, because I follow you closely, Mexico's exploding. Tell me what's going on.
Well, this was bound to happen, and it is because the trafficking of humans has decreased enormously historically in the United States of America. Now the organized crime of the cartel has pivoted to what it was before, that is the trafficking in synthetic drugs, that is fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine. So they're actually, this provoked an interior war inside of every city, what is a border city that is, openly cities that they have more activity of cartel, has been creating interior wars between these cities. And this has created a lot of animosity between the cartels as they're competing with each other. And the violence has escalated like no other. Just this week, I just posted on my X account. It was a human head that it was found outside of a school with a cartel banner. Also, there was a corpse wrapped up in a sheet, also with a cartel banner. Also, they were leaving funeral flower arrangements with the message of the cartel to a police officers in like 7-Eleven stores outside right here in Tijuana. Continuous, massive, missing people. There have been continuous abductions, kidnappings, finding mass graves with multiple decomposed bodies of people that they have been lost. The cartel activity has been intensifying. It has been growing. This due to the fact also that, President Trump has put a lot of pressure on the Mexican government to handle their interior war situation as it's happening. And this is one of the reasons why the Mexican president doesn't want to acknowledge the cartels as terrorists, because they know that they can, develop a lot of exposure to the interior corruption that the government has. The real cartel that it needs to be exposed, all the dirty politicians, the ones that they make the decisions for the cartel operations inside of our country. But it has escalated into a point that a lot of the cartels have been getting hit. Complete dismantlations of a lot of laboratories in the part of Culiacan. I was there a couple of months ago, investigating the actual war between Los Chapos and Los Mayos. These are actual, cartel, the biggest cartel organizations in our country. And they're terrifying the whole cities and the whole states. They have been dismantling. The government has been pushed to dismantle some laboratories of fentanyl and also methamphetamine. Just around 2 months ago, they found the biggest laboratory in Zacatecas, more than 40 acres of a laboratory that they found more than 700 million doses of methamphetamine. It was the biggest seized in history, possibly in laboratory history in entire existence. So it has been intensifying. It has been growing. And this was bound to happen because you have decreased the level of trafficking of humans, the level of trafficking of children. Now the cartel is pivoting and it is directing themselves back to where they were supposed to be, their main market, that is the trafficking of synthetic drugs, Ms. Lori.
That is crazy. So, I would assume that these cartels made billions, if not trillions of dollars trafficking migrants and creating all this human suffering. Why don't they just go to a beach and get a drink and give up their jobs. It doesn't make sense that, I mean, now they've turned their weapons on themselves, it seems like. And I did see a story with you a while back on X where you were talking that they had found extermination camps. And were those migrants that were being trafficked up here that they just decided to dispose of? What's that all about?
Well, there was a big story, and it's a worldwide story. It was called the Auschwitz of Mexico.
Yeah.
That's the way that it would categorize it. It was a ranch. It was an abandoned ranch. There, because of the enormous missing people and the incompetence of the government of Mexico to search for these missing people that have been kidnapped by the cartel, there's some groups that they're called collective groups. These groups are family members that they're on their own. They take the responsibility to search for their family members with a shovel and with some shirts that says collective group so and so. So there was a collective group that it was called Madres Guerreras Buscadoras. They are warrior mother searchers. This collective groups, it was all females, all mothers searching for their children, and they found this ranch and they went inside this ranch. And when they went inside this ranch, with Gloria, they found just horrible, just enormous holes and mass grave holes with bone fragments. They had cremators where they were burning bodies. Also, they have shrines of La Santa Muerte. This is a shrine that is dedicated to the evil. Also, they have more than 200 shoes that they were there, multiple clothing and stuff like that. So it was categorized as an extermination camp because of the enormous evidence that it was found. But the government and the government of Mexico tried to minimize this as it was a recruiting camp for the cartel because they knew the level of aggressiveness that it was caused, and they knew that the level of evil that it was going to be exposed in the whole country of Mexico. So to try to minimize this, and they started attacking the right-wing political parties in Mexico, saying that this was a strategy from the right-wing political party to hit the left-wing political party. So it was so much of evidence that it was a worldwide situation. Extermination camp is the name that it has been categorized, and because of this, there has been multiple mass graves that it was found. Right here in the city of Tijuana, we have a collective group that is called Todos Somos Eric Carrillo. Everybody's Eric Carrillo. Eric Carrillo was a kid that was lost in 2019, and his father took upon himself to search for him until this year. He found his son after almost 5 years of search. And just listen to this number, Ms. Lori. On him alone, with a couple of other family members, he has found alone more than 1,700 bodies. Wow. Alone on his almost 5 years. So this tells you the level of mode operandi of the cartel, has how they have been aggressively. It goes with all the market. It goes with kidnapping, extraction of organs, trafficking of children, trafficking of women, exploitation of women. How these cartels are not only just operating with synthetic drugs and trafficking, they are in technology now. A lot of them, they're influencers, they're bloggers. They finance these influencers and these bloggers millions of dollars through their platforms so they can basically money laundry all of this and pull in another type of audience, young girls searching to be famous. Also, they are publicating that they are basically posting about that you can find a better job opportunity, and they make them go to certain locations, and then they abduct them, and they get kidnapped, and then you find them disappeared. So all of this has been massively happening in the country of Mexico. The missing people, the mass graves have been a particular, a worldwide story of what is happening over here.
Now, I want to roll back just a little bit, and then I want to talk about the influencers. You had stated that there are shrines. Is this satanic worship that it happened in this camp?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we just went to Culiacan, and this is another city, other than the extermination camp. But in Culiacan, La Santa Muerte is the Holy Death. This is basically they have several types of beliefs of this, but it's just evil. It's just plain evil. The cartel does sacrifices. In Culiacan, they had multiple statues up to possibly 5 feet statue of this. And you can see these statues of this Holy Death in places where the cartel massively operates. Now, inside of this extermination camp, there was a shrine. And in this shrine, they had the Holy Death right there, sitting down with a whole bunch of candles and a lot of, debris of offerings. And they're studying if there was actual sacrifices this, because this was, a speculation at first, but then later on it started getting serious because there was a couple of witnesses that escaped the extermination camp, and they were talking about what they were hearing late at night, and it was complete torture of human beings. So it tells you that there was a possibility of, a possible torture and possible sacrifices in there.
When I had JJ Carroll on the show, who used to be Chief Border Patrol in San Diego, he flat out told me that a lot of the migrants that were being trafficked up, not only the children, not only were they being sex trafficked, but they were also being trafficked for organ harvesting. It sounds like this could have been a place that they could have done this.
Oh yes. There's a lot of this. This is why it was categorized as an extermination camp. Only the left wing political media and the left wing politicians are saying that this is a political hit from the right wing political media. But other than that, the whole population of Mexico, we knew this, and we know that the whole country of Mexico is a huge mass grave. It is just it's cartel activity in every place, and you can actually see this every day in Tijuana right now. The president of Mexico has declared Tijuana, the city that we live, the city with more homicides and the city with more violence right now in the country. Just yesterday, no, 3 days ago, they found a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old in a mass grave. These two little young kids that were assaulting and that were robbing, and the organized crime took upon themselves the authority and disposed them. So this kind of situations, they happen continuously. A lot of the bodies, they have done studies, and a lot of them that they're, that they find them immediately. You will see that their middle parts of their body have been opened. So they do a study to say possibly there was an extraction, possibly there was not, but there is a huge possibility that they're doing that. Extraction of organs and extraction of all kinds of parts of the body to basically create this black market.
Okay, so let's now pivot into the influencers that you were talking about. I'd like to expose them. Maybe you know who some are, and maybe you can send me a list, but I think we should target them. Now, something that's been happening in America that I know that you're aware of is we have had a lot of swatting incidents in our country where somebody will call and say that there's a murder at a residence of an influencer, or even politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jack Posayek, Cat Turd, all these people, and then pizza is delivered. Now, we had talked about this a little bit. Why do you think that this is connected to the cartels, and why is pizza a calling card?
Well, I made that theory, and there's a
And it's a
possibility
theory. Yeah.
it made that theory, and there's a possibility that it can happen. Why do I address this? Because the infiltration of the cartel in the United States of America has been massive. Because of the Biden administration that let this, huge evil to come into the United States openly. But in Culiacan, there's two cartels that they're fighting each other in this cartel war that I was just present. And under Los Chapitos, that is the Sons of El Chapo, there is a collective group, Sicario, extortion group, and also a militia group that is called La Chapitza. It is that it's diminutivo. It's a name for a small group of people, young people. And Chapitza, it is a CH, and the last words is pizza. So their calling card when they do an assassination or when they send a message to whatever organization, institution, or whoever they want to extortion is to leave a slice of pizza into their victim, as what is Los Mayos, that is the opposition cartel. Their sign is to leave a sombrero, a hat, a Texas hat. That is their sign, and that has been their way that they have been attacking each other. In the United States of America, there has been multiple signings of people wearing these signs of the pizza in their cars, or in several different locations. When they were doing these deliveries of pizzas, it is kind of strange that they're using a particular sign, as it is a pizza. For me, it is kind of strange. And if they're doing it specifically to journalists, it is for me exactly a copy paste of what they're doing over here, because that is a sign for you to basically shut up, for you to not open your mouth anymore, and for you to just keep quiet. And that is a sign that they're telling you. It is not just basically because it's a pizza. It is the calling card for them to say, hey, you know what? If you do it again, we're going to send some other message with this and some another message with this. And it has been the mode operandi of this organized crime in Mexico. They have been doing it over here. I don't know if they're actually continuously doing it in the United States, but they have been doing it over here. Experts I talked about this, journalists in the part of Culiacan, that they are really experts on this. They're not strange, and they're not they're not saying it cannot possibly happen. They're saying there is a big possibility that this can actually be happening in the United States, because a lot of the organized crime has already crossed borders into the U.S. territory.
Yeah, and we're seeing it. And you warned us, Oscar. You and Ben did such phenomenal work. We just had near my home last week two or three Jordanians that tied up a man in his home and beat him to death. And, that's the Middle East. And we know that they came here through the border. They found a 14-year-old boy, one city over in Oxnard, California, where a illegal immigrant had put up a soccer website and was recruiting boys to join his soccer camp. And he had raped several boys, and they just found the body of a 14-year-old. So this is crossing borders. And the Democrats don't want anybody to leave because they want to gerrymander the congressional districts. That's why I'm sticking with that. But it's amazing to me, and you watched it firsthand. People come to our country, catch and release. The cartels were making billions. The NGOs were making billions on human suffering. And now the Democrats are fighting to keep them here. They're fighting. We had a judge get arrested because he had Trinidad Aragua member living in his home who had decapitated photos of somebody on his phone. This is crazy town, and it seems that we're both fighting the same enemy, just on different sides of the border. Your president, tell me about her, and how many candidates were killed coming up to that election?
30 plus. I don't remember exactly the name, but 30 plus candidates. The most horrible one was that they decapitated a political candidate, and they put his head on his front of the car, I think so. As a message. The elections have been nasty. I remember, going to vote, and they were burning the voting booths. They were actually shooting just half a block away to scare the opposition that are trying to fight the left wing, voters. So it gets really nasty when you come to voting situations. What I can tell you about the Mexican president. There's not a lot to say at this particular moment about her in terms to what is she going to do, because actually she's being controlled, and everybody over here knows who is she being controlled, and we know who specifically.
Who's controlling her?
Oh, the cartels, and ultimately some elitists that they control the country. They're telling her basically, this is what you have to say, this is what you have to do, and this is how you're going to do the strategy. We actually know this, and everybody in Mexico knows this, and everybody now. It is because of the pressure of Trump, she is being exposed as to be a narco government. Now it is clear as day that everybody is realizing this, and everybody is waiting for her to act. You have a war, Miss Lori, in the part of Culiacan with two cartels that has been going on for 8 months, and you haven't been able to stop it. And their statement says, let them handle it on their own. When they finished it, we will go in and clean up the house. That is their solution. Also, you have a war in Michoacan where the CJNG has been brutally, just about a month ago, they ambushed some military Marines and also some National Guardsmen, killing 6 of them. And you could imagine to say, well, she's going to have, a public statement and say, oh, we're going after you. This is law and order. We're the ones in charge. She didn't do anything. So we know actually when the American president of the United States, Donald Trump, is saying, "I'm going to try to send you help. If you want, I can help you." We know exactly what her response is going to be. Other than that, in our Constitution, it says that no foreign military can enter to our country in a way that although if the president says, "Okay, I will let you in," but other than that, she's going to use that justification to protect the sovereignty. But she was trying to change the Constitution for nobody to name them terrorists other by her state. That tells you the level of her protection to these organized crime and to these cartels. And it is difficult at this particular point to say that we are safe. The country is upside down. It's a lot of violence, a lot of criminal violence. It's a lot of instability. It's a lot of corruption. And basically, the cartel has a lot of control of a lot of states. I can consider, a few of the states, they're failed states. And one of them is Culiacan. The governor we just recently went there. The governor of Culiacan, he's living in the governmental palace. He's not living in his home. He's living right there guarded because he's afraid to go out and fight the bad guys.
Wow.
So it tells you the level of how we are right now and how the citizens, they don't even feel protected of the government. They feel afraid.
Yeah, well, and rightfully so. I remember as a young girl, my parents used to take me down to Rosarito, Ensenada. We'd hang out in Tijuana. And it's really sad because it was such a loving community. And now I'm afraid to go there. I truly am. I would be afraid to visit Tijuana. And this is our neighbor state. I'm in California. We're on the border with Tijuana. And it's amazing to me to watch what's happening. I know President Trump did say, we'll come in and we'll dismantle these cartels. But it seems, as you said in your Constitution, your president would have to approve that. And seeing that they would probably kill her if she did, is that where we're at, Oscar? And I also think that there is a demonic stronghold on your country that we need to pray against.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. First, I believe that there's a lot of corruption, and a lot of the people say the swamp in the United States of America, it is deep, and the swamp in Mexico is extremely deep, and the cartel control a lot of the power. They even I can dare to say that they have a lot of control over also in the executive power, not even the judicial system, but also the executive power. It's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of money, but the thing that I will say, and I have been consistently saying in different networks. The Trump administration needs to focus, not extracting and not extraditing the kingpins and the drug lords anymore. You need to start exposing the dirty politicians that they are the ones that they hold a spider web in Mexico and start extraditing and putting charges on these dirty politicians. When they start doing that, they are going to be consequences and she's going to be hurt. This is the number one reason why I'm telling you, because the White House released a statement for the first time in history saying that the government of Mexico is in cahoots with the cartel. Nobody ever in the history has been so blunt to say that. And the Trump administration said that, and she was completely offended, saying, "Oh no, we're not corrupt." When everybody in Mexico knows that. Everybody in Mexico knows that the government is the one that holds the spider web, that holds the control of the corruption in our country. So the number one thing that the Trump administration needs to do is start exposing these dirty politicians. And they have the power to do so, Ms. Lori. They have El Chapo Guzman in their power, and they have El Mayo Zambada in their power. Both of them, they know who they have financially. They have financially, politically funded. So they have a lot of power to expose this. I don't know what is taking them. I know that it's a period possibly strategical, but, I don't know what is taking them so long to exercise that power.
Well, we're dealing with, as you know, we're dealing with activist judges here. We're dealing with politicians going to El Salvador trying to bring Kilmore Garcia home, who is an MS-13 member, wife-beating, trafficking, child-beating scumbag. But that's their priority. I know here in America, they flooded our country to gerrymander our districts so they could get more congressional seats. They don't care who dies. They don't care who's hurt as long as they maintain power. They're trying to make our country a one-party Democrat-run state. And they are so failed. And sadly, we have such a short amount of time to rectify and fix this because 2026 is around the corner. And if the Democrats get the power back in the House, they're going to just impeach President Trump. That's all they're going to do, impeach and special counsels. And it's going to be a nightmare again. But we have so many corrupt judges here. And let's face it, we have a lot of corrupt politicians. And thank God we have Kash Patel and Dan Bongino now in the FBI. And we've got Pam Bondi inside of the DOJ. My fear is that it's just the corruption runs so deep in these institutions that it's going to take years to clean it out. And I'm praying to the Lord in heaven, Jesus, that we're able to make a big change, because otherwise we're back to the open border and the human suffering and the NGOs making billions and trillions of dollars.
Yeah, this is. I have said this, and I said it when Joe Biden won the presidency. As I said to the American public, you're going to see a massive flow like you've never seen it before.
Yeah,
And it started, and it
20
went for
million
4 years.
people.
And now I dare to say right here, Miss Lori, and let's check out 4 years from now on this interview. If you in the 2028 election, if a radical leftist, if a progressive mercenary candidate, or if a rhino, like you guys say it, wins an election in the United States of America, you're going to see a flow like worse than it was before. It's going to be 2 times stronger, 2 times bigger. Why? There was more than 1 million migrants that they stayed on the borders waiting for the CBP-1 app because it was canceled. You have scattered hundreds of thousands in the central parts of Mexico, and also you have hundreds of thousands waiting in Central America, millions that they're waiting to come on South America, and also hundreds of thousands that they want to come from China, from Africa. So it is going to be a massive flow. If no other candidate that there is, that is not going to protect the borders of the United States of America, it's not America first, or it's not this, with these policies, you're going to see a flow that is never going to, like you never have seen ever in your life, Miss Lori. And I'm assuring this because they are part of this globalist compact on migration and open up the borders.
And I truly believe you're correct. It's terrifying. I don't think they want America anymore. And they don't care who they destroy in order to gain this power, global power over all of us. And they don't see life as value. They have no value on our lives, on your life, on my life, on our children's life. And if they get away with what they're doing, we're not going to have a country. We're not going to have a country at all. And so, Oscar, our 30 minutes went fast again. It always does. I love having you on so much, and you are welcome here anytime you want to be here. I want to say a quick prayer for you. Do you care? Even though we're live? Well, we're not live. We're recorded. I'm going to pray for Mexico and America. Heavenly Father, I just come before you, praise you, and exalt you. Father, I just pray a hedge of protection around Oscar and his family. I pray for a hedge of protection around our country. Father, I pray that you root out the darkness. I pray that you break down any demonic strongholds in Mexico and demonic strongholds in America, God. You are bigger than all of this, and we are yet man. Donald Trump is one person. He can't do it all, but he's your instrument. So I pray for your mercy and grace on Mexico. I pray for your protection on the American people. I pray you expose the corrupt politicians in both countries. And I pray the evil that has been infiltrating both of our countries with murder and rape and trafficking would be dismantled and sent to the pit of hell. I pray for your divine protection on Mexico and America, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So, brother, tell everybody where they could. I just felt led to pray. I had to. But tell everybody where they can find you.
Oscar Blue Ramirez, Oscar Ramirez, Oscar Blue Ramirez news. That is my website.
Okay.
Oscar Blue Ramirez all around and all pages. If everybody wants to follow me right there, go ahead and follow me, and I'll be there giving information for everybody like always.
Yes, and I tell you guys, if you're not following Oscar Blue, I'll tell you what, he's like, I have him on notifications. He knows what's going on, usually 6 months to a year before anybody else. He told us about Tren de Agua probably 4 years before anybody else. He told us about the NGOs and what they were doing, how much money they were making with Catholic Family Services, Jewish Family Services. All the information we got from the Darien Gap came from Oscar and Ben. So if you're not following him, big mistake, because as he said, we've got millions of people waiting south of the border to flood our country once again. Victory's not an option, folks. We have to press forward. Oscar, thanks so much for coming on, and please come back. You are always welcome here. If anything comes up and you want it out, you're always welcome.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lori. It's always an honor to be with you, and thank you so much for the invitation.
All right. Thank you. Well, that's our show for this week, folks. What a freaking blockbuster. I tell you, you guys need to be following Oscar. So next week, I'm blessed. I'm going to have Sheriff Freihoff in, who is our local Ventura County Sheriff. This man, last week, we did this thing called the Common Sense Club in Ventura. It was our first one. He was the speaker. There's this massive fight outside, and this guy jumps in another guy's car, starts punching him in the face. Sheriff Freihoff and his deputies were upstairs, ran down the stairs, and made an arrest. I can't wait to have him on, so make sure you tune in next week, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this video, remember to follow me on X at Lori Mills, 4CA42, Uncover Cali on Rumble, and Uncover California on YouTube.
California.